Hey, in this podcast episode, I dive into personal finance. That's long-term investing, to be specific, Roth IRAs, individual revenue accounts, another type of index fund investing. We go into it. We got it over an hour and 45 minutes of Edgar describing to me what he teaches in his personal finance presentations, goes through a slideshow, talks about all the major hitting points of how to make money off long-term investing and some misunderstandings of short-term investing. We go through go over taxes and a few different other key things. So hope you enjoy this episode. Subscribe and let's get to it. It tells you on the apps that he was looking at, it tells you when you retire, at how much
How
money you'll
much you
have
have?
at that point. It was in the millions for him. I was like, whoa. So you're investing only like, 100 and something a week every week. Like you could have millions by the end of your life. And he's somebody in his 20s. Like, I think that's just a great lesson for anybody out there. Like if they can just put aside 100 to 150 a month for the rest of their life, you have millions at retirement.
Yeah, dude. Pretty much. I remember in high school, economics teacher said that, and I was like, what? I was in high school. I didn't think much of it. It stuck with me, but I didn't know how to open an account back then, and all of that sort of stuff. But,
Mm-hmm.
dude, it's funny because I don't know if I've ever told you in high school, my teacher had that a class project where you had to use play money, like fake money, to invest in the stock market because that's what we were
Oh,
covering.
yeah.
And that was in 2014. So
Uh-huh.
Google had just gone public. They just IPO'd, and he gave us like 100,000 of fake money, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, okay, 100 grand, boom, Google. He's like,
All in Google.
yeah, he's like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, dude, it's my money. Like, oh, that's what I want to do. He's like, no, you have. He was trying to teach us
Oh,
like
like
to
invest here, buy
diversify.
and sell, trade.
No, to diversify, like,
Mm.
because it was like a semester long project. So, some stocks, yeah, after 6 months are higher, some are lower. But like if you're diversified enough, like you're gonna win essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't do that. You can't like like going against the teaching of what I'm trying to say. I was like, fine. He's like, so I did Google. I did 90,000 in Google,
90.
5,000 in Nike, and then 5,000 in Pepsi. But at that time, Gmail had just came out.
Mm.
It came out April 1st. It was like people thought it was an April Fool's joke. It's prior to that,
Uh-huh.
everybody had Yahoo Mail and like MSN and Hotmail, like all this other stuff. And when you had Yahoo Mail, you had like 100 megabytes. Like this was in the early 2000s. And then Google just comes out, they give you 1 gigabyte. And everyone's like, what? It's April 1st and it was in beta. I was like one of the first accounts. And I remember like I wanted to work for Google. Like, damn, this is the company I want to work for. I'm going to invest in it. And we would chart it every Monday, our stock on the newspaper, dude. We pull up the newspaper and go to
What,
the
the
like,
newspaper?
yeah, to look at the stock price. So you would look and it'd be like $75, and then next week it's like $100, like 25 increase in a week, and which is not normal. Like my Nike was going from like $40 to like it would go down to like 39.75 or something. Like a couple a couple like 25 cents or something. But Google was going up like $25. He's like, you're
Whoa.
doing it wrong. I'm like, no, I'm
You're,
not. Like, look,
you're like, my increase is so high.
yeah. And there's kind of a rumor that he like ended up investing in Google because I like shattered the like school records and everything.
Oh,
And
whoa.
like he like within 4 years or something became a millionaire and like retired as a teacher. But, but I think it was because of like he saw my Google like charts just going like
Mm.
off the charts, dude. It's insane.
And so Gmail was the main driving force right there.
There's just a lot that happened since then. Like Google bought YouTube, and they just were the like the number one search platform. So they make a ton of money off of YouTube. Like who would have Like who would have predicted or known like that way back in 2004 or whatever?
Yeah, no.
But
No one.
it's like Amazon. It started off as they sold books. That's what they sold. Now they like what don't they do, right?
Yeah, totally.
It's kind of who would have known 15 years ago? It's kind of insane.
Yeah, you wouldn't. So what could you show me on your screen? Your like Vanguard, like if I was to set that up, or what do you?
Yeah, let me how do I do this? I could share screen, right?
Let me see. Once I make you, now you can, because you're co-host.
Nice. Okay. You know what we gotta do? We gotta set it up or we meet more often or we chat more often about this stuff because
There's so much to
there's
cover.
so much, dude.
That
There's so
sounds good. Yeah, we can cover a little section today.
I think we try to figure out baby stepping it. What does Matt want to do? What does Matt want to do with his like money to make
Totally.
sure he's covered
Mm-hmm.
today? Let me see if I can find my presentation. I actually do a presentation for
Oh,
for people.
oh yeah, that'd be rad.
Let me see if I can find that. I'm working for the San Jose Conservation Corps. It's pretty dope, man. We're out. Lassen Park.
Lassen Park.
Yeah, it's a national park.
That sounds really familiar. I don't know where it is
It's up
though.
there. It's up there by. Actually, it's up north. Uh, we're
Oregon.
it's near Oregon, like Reading ish,
Mm-hmm.
like up there. But we're up there. We have a crew up there. We're gonna be out there for 8 days. We're
Dang, that's sweet. What are they up to?
they're taking trees down.
Uh-huh.
So I used to plant trees, and now we're like taking them down. But they're like dead trees. But it's just like for the fires and stuff like that,
Uh,
fire fuel reduction. But we train them. We train them to use chainsaws and all of that stuff.
that's rad.
And dude, they're up there right now. They're working on the Pacific Crest Trail.
That's sick. I bet the views and the hiking is awesome. I wonder if
Yeah,
there's smoke right now up there.
yeah, yeah. There's fires. It's crazy, man.
Oh, dude. Did it get super orange where you were at last year?
So bad we couldn't breathe.
It was
Uh,
so nuts.
I don't have air conditioning here in San Jose, so we couldn't open the windows because you let in all of the like dust and
Was it bad?
dude,
And hot and
it was
bad?
hot. It was like we had to wear masks because of COVID, and then we got to wear masks because of the fires. But we had to wear the N95 mask.
Yeah, because
Those
the
masks,
fire was.
those are
Yeah.
you can't breathe with those masks. All right, cool. Let me actually go through a quick run through of my presentation.
Yeah, that'd be rad.
Let's see what I do. Share screen. All right, can you see it?
Oh yeah, professional.
let me drag it over to my other side.
Drag me over there. Ah, I'm dragged.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I normally do this presentation for AmeriCorps members, and they don't know where to start with for retirements and all of that sort of stuff. They don't even think that they can do it. So yeah,
But they don't think they don't know they can. Like they
they don't
just
know that
no
they
one's
can.
ever told them about this.
Exactly. So I start off with these questions, and first I ask them like, does anyone have a retirement account? And it's usually like maybe 1 out of 70, like do if that.
Wow.
And then I pull up these questions and I'm like, does any of this like relevant for them? Like when will I retire? How much should I save for retirement? I don't know how to start. I don't know how to save. I have plenty of time, things like that. And then they start thinking like, oh shoot, like, Yeah, that's exactly like all my life. Like people have told me it's important, but you know, once you start thinking about it, you're like, crap, dude, these are good questions. I have no money to save. Uh, and then I tell them there's different avenues they can take. That, typically people work from like 18 to like 60. That's like normal when you retire. Now it's later. Now it's like 65. A lot of people aren't even prepared
Yeah.
to retire. Um, some people they want to go, work. They want to go on little mini retreatments, or, do whatever vacation. Um, you know, so it's all determined on what you want to do. And so, kind of what I present to them is what the normal kind of path to retirement is you work while you're young, you retire while you're old, is kind of my normal like presentation. Because you do need money. So if you had a high paying job, like like you're a software engineer or a computer engineer, you work at Google, you're making 250,000 a year, which is like normal around here. And then you can like retire much earlier. But I'm not going to go through this video, but this guy is real cool. He learned how to trade stocks in prison. So he
Well,
picked up a book on how to read and stuff. So he does financial literacy for folks now. He's still in prison, but he didn't know how to read when he went into prison.
what?
Like read, like he was illiterate. So
Wow.
now that's what he's doing there. So I showed him a bunch of charts. I show him a bunch of charts to kind of just freak them out, scare them. So all of these statistics, this is probably like 5 year old information, but it still probably holds true. 1 in 3 Americans have $0 saved for retirement. 30%, that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, wow.
28% of people over the age of 55 have no retirement. So by the age of 55, almost 30%, no money whatsoever. Women are less prepared for retirement than men because there's wage gap. Women usually bear children. There's all sorts of factors as to why this happens. So it's particularly kind of scary.
Yeah, it's not very high. There's not a lot of
No,
people
no, it's not.
investing in their future.
66% Californians, people of color, half of our Latinos also do not, they work in a place that do not offer retirement accounts. So I'll get into different type of accounts that you can have, but you can have 401ks. That's typically what people like here. Like I have my 401k there. It was really interesting because California was trying to develop a law where they would require businesses to have retirement accounts. The problem is a lot of small businesses, it's very challenging, very difficult for them to offer this. When they're offering it as a package, like as a benefit package,
Yeah.
that means that's potentially wage that they're not getting essentially. So there's all sorts of like different political arguments for and against. Obviously, if you're intelligent enough, well, I wouldn't say intelligent. If you had the know-how to do so, you would want your full paycheck to kind of do it on your own. But it's a little bit more complicated than
Hmm.
that. Millennials, that,
Millennials.
that's you right
That's
there,
me right there.
man.
What's up,
So,
millennials?
uh, you know, uh, 42% of millennials have no retirement whatsoever. 30% have less than 10K, and then 10K to 50K is 11.2%.
That's
Uh,
alarming.
so, these two big numbers right here, that's more than 50% don't even have 10K. Um, I think that might include me. Actually, I might be a millennial. Yeah, I'm a millennial.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
So,
you are.
42%, that's a lot, man. Um,
Yeah, that's
and
really
even
alarming.
that for seniors, as we mentioned, 28%, right? You don't want to be 55 years old and you don't want to be in this 28% category.
No.
You want to be in this one over here. If not, you actually want to be a millionaire by then. Uh, Yeah. So
Wait, where are you looking at? What are you looking at right now?
if you're so you have 300K or more saved,
Uh-huh.
about 22% of seniors had 300K or more, but actually more people have none. This is $0.
Uh-huh.
28% have nothing. Uh, so I mean, if you have 300K, right, you have to live off of that 300K.
Yeah.
If you're 55, most likely a millennial, unfortunately, we're probably not going to have our mortgage paid off because it's kind of, it's impossible nowadays. Well, not impossible, but it's just a lot more challenging. And even if you do have the really funny thing is, people finances, people don't really understand like financial literacy. Like people think you pay off your mortgage and you're good to go. That's not true. You still got insurance. You got to pay. You got to pay insurance on your house. You got to pay property tax.
Property tax, yeah.
So even if your mortgage is fully paid off, you still have that monthly payment you got to pay. If you're so sometimes what happens is seniors who no longer work, they might have their mortgage fully paid off. They can't pay the property taxes. Um, you can't pay the property taxes. You lose your house.
Wow.
So there's a lot of like laws in place to kind of protect seniors and that too. But again, I'm not a politician. I don't like to get into politics. But you got
And
to
wait,
know that
what are you looking at? Am I looking at the same thing?
this chart right here.
Or I don't know if I see a chart. Am I gonna refresh this or
What do you see on your page?
I see it says retirement savings made easy.
Oh, what? No.
Yeah, wait, I feel like you're looking at something else.
So you haven't seen any of these charts?
Maybe you can't go out of your no, I haven't seen the charts.
What do you see right
Maybe
now?
go out
Oh, you
can
see a Vanguard thing.
yeah. There
Oh
you go.
man, I was showing my presentation the whole time. Okay.
Oh darn.
No worries. Let me stop.
Oh yeah, switch their screens. I see you're double monitoring right now.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, so I'm seeing this other side of your monitor.
Let me hit this right here. Okay. Where's my okay, this thing here. Did you see that?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, I show these charts, and so again, 1 out of 3 Americans, $0. So that's a significant chunk of the population there. And then so yeah, women are less prepared than men. 38% have no money whatsoever
Okay, so women that's less
versus men.
prepared. Yeah, less prepared. Wow.
Yeah. Um, yeah, this is 66% of workers don't have a retirement plan, so they don't have a 401k. So that's a big part of why people don't have retirement, because most people don't know you can open your own retirement account. Like you can open a Roth IRA, or you can
Yeah,
open.
I didn't even know that
Then
for
then it
the
cross your
longest
mind.
time. No, no one told me for the longest time.
And then right here, so millennials again, 42% no retirement. So this orange means you have zero. Not you don't have a dollar to your retirement account. Uh, and then 29, almost 30% have less than 10,000. So if you combine that two numbers right there, that's like 70% have 10,000 or less. Uh,
Wow.
and that's what I was looking at down here, the seniors. So 28% right here have no retirement whatsoever at 55 or older, and only 22%, so only like about a quarter of the population have 300,000 or more in their retirement. So I tell them about compounding interest. So then I tell them like, oh, you guys remember algebra? They taught you about compounding interest. I tell them, who knows the formula? Nobody knows what the formula is. I'm like, okay, here's the formula. who
Albert Einstein loved it.
who can tell me what this means? Nobody knows what it means. It seems super complicated, but then I tell them it's not really complicated at all. It's actually really simple. Here's the definition in plain English: when earnings on invested money generate their own earnings, And then I break it down even simpler to them. Time equals money. And so therefore more time equals more money.
Well,
So I tell them
I
that
love it.
the earlier they start, the more money they're gonna have in the end. But anyone who understands math right here, right, this is the power, right, raised to the nth power or whatever. So in this formula here, this t is time. That's gonna change the number at the end the easiest or like with the greatest impact, because it's to that power there versus like this number, the principal, that's what you put in. So
Yeah.
if you're 50 years old and you're trying to put money in your retirement account, like a bunch of money, like the big principal, and it's only got 10 years in there, it doesn't matter. Someone who's 20 and they do it for 40 years, they can have a small amount of principal, but it's gonna be a lot more money in there. So here's just an example of that here. Uh, so if you're 20 years old and you invest $1, uh, so by the time you're 65, that $1 becomes $5.84 there. So the green is how much money your investment is the output there. Uh,
Mm.
the blue is what you're putting in, the $1. So that doesn't
Oh, I see.
matter, right? That's the age. So if you're 55, that's 10 years. You're not going to make much off of your investment there. So breaking it into kind of real world examples, as you were mentioned earlier. So at the age of 25, if you put $150,000 from the age 25 to 40, so for 15 years, you put $150,000 into the market, you'd come out with $1 million for 15 years,
Oh.
right? Versus if you started at the age of 35 and went to the age of 65, that's 30 years, double
Wow.
the amount of time, double the amount of money. 300,000 as opposed to 150,000, come out with 838,000 there.
Wow. This makes me feel like I got to start now. Like
Yeah,
right now. Anybody
yeah,
listening to this right now?
you got to start now because you want to be the person who invested for 15 years, putting half the amount of money, as opposed to the people that invested for double the amount of years and double the amount of money you have less. And so, yeah, start early
Start early. Be a millionaire.
for sure. So then I get into so hopefully this will start like how do I get started? Um, you want to save for emergency depending on how old you are. So all of this is relative to how old you are and how much support you have, especially like financially support from family. If you're
Yeah.
18, right? If you're 18 and you're able to put, even $25 a month into your retirement, like, so be it. That's what you put. Your parents are still paying your cell phone bill, your housing, your rent, whatever it is, you're in college, let's take advantage of it, you know, just put that money in there. If you're older, uh, like myself, and I have a mortgage, I got to make sure I have an emergency savings account. So it depends on where you're at. For me, if I lose my house, my parents they're not gonna step in and save the day. But that's kind of been me like since I was a little kid. I didn't have that kind of support system, so I had to have an emergency fund there. So how do you figure out your emergency fund? I can't tell you what that is. That's a whole nother kind of lecture in
Yeah.
itself. You want to reduce debt. So any high debt that you have, example, you have a credit card. That credit card, they're charging you probably it's going to be anywhere between 12% to 30%. That's what they're charging you on a credit card. On the stock market, you're making about 7 to 10% on average with an index fund. So it doesn't make sense to put that money in the stock market because you're making 7% versus your credit card is charging you maybe 30%. You're at a net loss there.
So you should never use your credit card for the stock
Never
market.
use your credit card.
Yeah.
never leverage your money into the stock market.
Okay. I
Don't
think
do
that's.
that. It's really bad.
Mhm.
But maybe you have a car, whatever. You know what I mean. You want to pay off that debt. You have a mortgage. That for me, I have a mortgage. My mortgage is 2.75%. So I can put more money into my mortgage, right, and pay off my loan instead of 30 years. I could pay it off quicker. They say if you make one mortgage payment at the end of the year, an extra one, then you pay off your house 7 years earlier just by making
Whoa.
one extra mortgage payment uh, a year. So if your mortgage is 2 grand, and then so in December instead of paying 2 grand, you pay 4 grand.
Yeah.
You take 7 years off your mortgage.
Whoa.
But my mortgage is 2.75%. If the stock market on average is at 7%, instead of putting more money into my mortgage, I'm going to put my extra money into the stock market. That's just me, for example, because
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather take that 7%. That's a 4% net gain right there. So it's where my money's going to move quicker. If you have student loans, your student loans, if you have, like, some people might have student loans that's 3%, then you might be okay with putting some of it in the stock market. You might be fine. Some student loans might be 9%, 15%, right? You want to pay off that debt because that's high interest debt.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out how much debt you have. So when you hear a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, that's just an account type. And I'll get into the types. So those provide special benefits. Now, in an IRA or a traditional or Roth, you can put cash in there. Cash is not going to do anything other than deplete value because of inflation, right? It's not really smart to just have cash in there. You're losing money every day. You can put it in a savings account, which these days you'd be lucky to have a 0.5% interest rate on a savings account.
Oh my God.
Right? You'll be lucky. If you go with like your big banks, your Bank of Americas, your Chase, you'd be lucky to have 0.02%. That's the same thing as cash. You're losing money just
That's
due to
that's
inflation.
virtually nothing, I feel
It's
like.
nothing. You can put it in a CD account. A CD account, they have stipulations with certificate of deposit. They might give you like 2%, but then
Mm-hmm.
you got to keep it in there for like 5 years. So you can't take it out. It's not liquid. Um, so all of those options, they're not really, you're not really leveraging it to the full potential. What you really want to do is invest it in stocks, publicly traded companies. There's also bonds. Bonds give you a certain guaranteed yield that can be higher. It's safe. You can get maybe 4% and be safe. You're not going to lose your bonds with a stock. You can lose it all
Mm-hmm.
potentially. Um, but if as a young person, you're probably not interested in bonds whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. As an older person who has a lot of money, then it does make sense. Um, so you want to invest in stocks, which will give you on average, again, 6 to 10%, accounting for inflation, about 7%, 8. You want to diversify to reduce your risk. Um, so you can open an account either through 401k or 403b through your job. Or if your job doesn't offer that, you can open a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA. Um, so a 401k, you know what that is?
I know that it's a retirement fund through a job.
Through a job, right?
It's
Uh,
only through a job, right? It has
through
to
only,
be.
pretty much, pretty much.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so a 401k, the way it works is they take money out of your paycheck and it goes into your retirement account. If you choose to, you can opt out of a 401k in your job. There's no reason you should be, but you can. Sometimes they'll put a match, so up to like a certain percentage. So, if you make 100K a year, they might match you up to 3%. So that means they'll give you 3K every year as long as you put in 3K. So you don't come out with 3K, you get 6K.
Mm. Let's see.
So if your job does offer a 401k and they offer matching, you want to open that 401k. You want to max it out to whatever they're matching, because matching is free money. Uh, when you open a 401k, again, you're just opening a retirement account. It could be with Fidelity, it could be with Vanguard, it could be whatever your place of work decides to choose.
Ah, okay.
Usually you sit down with HR, they give you like a consultation, they give you a book. Here are some options you can choose. You look at it, you're super confused. You're like, I don't know what to choose.
Yeah.
Like allocate it, whatever. And then they'll tell you, oh, if you're if you're more risky, choose this. If you're less risky, choose this. And then if you're concerned, like you're just in the middle, choose the middle. And then most people, okay, I'll just choose the middle, or you can choose a target fund. So when you plan on retiring, you can choose a year when you plan on retiring, and they'll handle it for you. It's really great. Some issues that may arise is they have fees. Since you don't have the option to choose the broker, that's kind of your limitations there. And then you have to wait till you're 59 and a half to take out what you take out. And if you change jobs, they might charge like maintenance fees for maintaining the account. You can roll it over and do all these other stuff. It's a little bit complicated. So you got to, check in with a financial advisor. That's all of that. But some people, they don't have a 401k there. Actually, the nice thing about a 401k, say if you make 100k a year, I'm just going to use 100k because it's just an easy number to use. And you put 10,000 into your 401k.
Yeah.
That's before you actually make your income. So that's before taxes. So you don't or when you get your W-2 for that year, you actually made 90,000. You only pay taxes on 90,000. You don't pay taxes on 100,000. So you deduct that 10,000 that you put into your retirement account, and you don't pay taxes on that 10K.
Oh, okay. That's really, really good to know.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So you could do that. That's what actually a traditional IRA works exactly in that same way. Only you choose your own broker. You choose the fees, you choose the type of account you want. It's personal account. It's not tied to your job place. And, you do whatever. You can close the account. You can transfer to a different broker. All of that sort of stuff. With the traditional IRA, the contribution limit is no longer 5,500. It's 6,000. What you put in a year.
Okay.
Now, the biggest difference between the traditional and the Roth is when you choose to pay taxes. So if you go the traditional route, you're not going to pay taxes when you're putting that money aside right now. You're going to pay the taxes when you pull out the money, when you retire.
You pull out the money. So when you're 59 and a half or 60 or whenever.
Yeah. And however your portfolio accumulated, when you pull that money out, you're going to get taxed then.
And what is the tax percentage then?
That's the $1 million question right there. So
Oh.
You don't know what your income is going to be like when you're 59 and a half, or you don't know what the tax brackets are going to be associated with, because historically and traditionally, your like taxes have increased. That's just something, if you look at charts historically, right? So if you somehow foresaw in the future when you're 59 and a half, your tax income bracket is going to be lower than what your tax income bracket is now, you'd rather pay the taxes now than when you're retired and just get it out the way. Or you'd rather, sorry, I flipped that. You'd rather pay the taxes when you're older
Yeah.
than pay the taxes now. That's the difference between the Roth and the traditional. So a Roth IRA, when you file your taxes, when you're doing your W-2, you're putting that you made 100K. You're not deducting that 10K going in to your retirement account. So when you do actually retire, since you've already paid your taxes, you don't owe any taxes. So what's in your portfolio, that's yours. So
That's yours.
that's it. And so the other nice thing about it is what you put into your Roth IRA, your contributions, you can take out at any time. For whatever reason you want it. You don't have to have a reason because you've already paid the taxes. So say I put 10K, you can only put 6K. So say I put 6K into my Roth IRA today, and then that grows into 7,000 in a year.
Yeah.
I can take the 6,000 and keep my 1K in there and just let my 1K ride. And with that 6,000, I can do whatever I want. I could start a business. I could put on a down payment for a house. If my car got in a funk and I got to
Hmm.
fix something, right, I can pull it from there.
Wow.
Uh, so because I already paid the taxes. So that's why I went with the Roth IRA is for one, when I retire, I won't have to worry about paying taxes. And then for two, if I got into some serious trouble, I have my like financially, I have my Roth IRA that I can pull from without getting hit with any penalties or fees. So I
Yeah.
just kind of like that security.
No, that's huge. And what is that 118K limit? Does that mean if you make more than 118 a
You
year?
can't open a Roth IRA if that's your income. So these numbers might be outdated, um, but that's the other thing too is if you anticipate making more money than that in the future, it's still okay to open a Roth IRA and it's still okay to maintain your Roth IRA. You won't get hit with any fees or anything. So it's really, 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 really smart if you don't make 100K. If you make, the traditional IRA, depending on the higher income you have, it starts making more sense to go the traditional IRA. The lower your
Uh,
income, it makes more sense to do the Roth IRA because you're paying your taxes now and you're paying at a lower tax bracket.
okay. But once you make more, it makes more sense to do the traditional.
But it makes more sense.
Okay.
And they don't even have the ability to open a Roth IRA if I made 200,000 or 250,000.
They would just go traditional.
Yeah, there's other tricks and other like kind of other things you can do to
Mhm.
open a Roth IRA if you're like stupid rich,
Yeah.
and you're like run your own business. Uh, but that's kind of like special case. Um, so
What's this
yeah,
right here?
that's just some comparisons there. Roth versus traditional is
Mm,
uh, yeah, essentially Roth IRA. You want to go Roth IRA. It's pretty
yeah.
simple. I had like almost zero reservations as opposed to there's a calculator down here if you wanted to like really use it. You can Google it. Should I open traditional Roth? But most people you want to go with Roth.
Most people. Okay. That's good. It's good feedback.
And then I go into like Social Security.
Yeah. Are we gonna have it? Why do people say we're not gonna have it? Can you explain that? What
People say
when?
we're not going to have it
Can you
because
explain why?
why? Because the people who are living off of Social Security right now is operating at a deficit, meaning the Social Securities that would the way Social Security works ideally is when you're working, you're paying taxes and it's put aside into Social Security so that when you retire, that money is put aside. But people are they didn't anticipate people living 70 years old, people living 80 years old, people living 90 years
That's
old.
right.
So the people now who are 65, 70, 75, when they were, 20, 21 and they were working, they didn't put enough money essentially, right? So we're paying like what essentially they're taking that money from us right now. So when we retire, who is it? The next generation also like it's just we keep getting further and further behind.
Oh, further and further and further behind. Yeah.
So that's why I mean, if you I wouldn't rely on Social Security. It's not that much. So these are just some average numbers here. But at the age of 62, um, if you start pulling out, this is about average what you're making 568 a month. And then this is just think about it like in the future, right? Like 568 might be a little bit higher just because of inflation and everything, but it's not really going to do much for you. Like, what am I going to do with what would I do with like $600? Um, Not much. If you wait, the longer you wait, the more money you do get, and it depends on how long you work. There's all sorts of different factors that play into it. 22% of retirees rely on Social Security for 90% of their income, and then 62%, more than half of their income. So you don't want to be in that situation. This talks about the stock market. And I explained to people what it is when you're buying stock and you own the business.
Nice.
You own the business. Like I really want to make it clear to all the core members when
Mm,
I talk to them. Like if I'm invested in Target, for example, I own that business. I own Target.
you own a part of Target. Yeah.
I own a very small piece of it, but I own it nonetheless. So when people are shopping there, Target makes money, Target pays a dividend. So then some of that dividend goes to me because I own it. So when you
Yeah.
see people in these places, you know, you you got to think about when you're investing in a company, you're not investing in um, a theoretical value or because the chart's moving up or because Matt says I should invest in it or because Edgar says I should invest in it. You're investing in it because it's a successful company, because they're making more money than they're spending.
Yeah.
Uh, all of the companies, you can look at their balance sheets. They actually have to report that. You can look at their assets and liabilities. And, you can see their cash flows. So those who have more assets and liabilities, those who have positive revenue, increasing revenues. Those are the companies you want to invest in. You don't
Mm-hmm.
want to invest in a company like GameStop because Reddit says to
Yeah.
invest in it. Because ultimately, if you look at their charts, their revenue is going down year after year. Uh, so then, yeah, you have different options. There's active and passive. Um, there's uh, there's uh, there's ETFs. There's stocks. There's mutual funds. It all
Yes,
gets
baby.
it all gets really complicated. Um, but um, Yeah, this is funny. If investing is entertaining, if you're having fun, you're probably not making any money. Good investing is boring. That's the whole uh,
Wow.
ETF mentality of it. Where can you do this? Where can you invest? You want to go with a broker. Um, this is what most people do. That's your Fidelities of the world. That's your Vanguard, your E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, Scottrade. Um, and then you do your research, you buy either an ETF or you go into a mutual fund, you buy stocks. Um, you can go with a robo advisor. So they use AI, they use technology to invest off of your behalf, on your behalf. So when you create a profile, you put in your name, you put in your age, you put in your income, you put if you want to be aggressive, if you want to be, just in the middle, if you want to play conservative, and then they invest on your behalf. Um,
And they'll choose, like, if you want to do an ETF, they'll choose depending on you, how risky you want to be. Like, they'll choose the companies.
they'll choose everything. These are really cool. There's Betterment and Wealthfront. Their interfaces are super dope. It's super easy to use. You can download the app. You can download Betterment. You do a direct deposit, however much you're able to do monthly or on paydays. I like to do
Mm.
paydays, so that way I know it's gone. Right, payday, boom, direct deposit. It's taken out, like it's gone. I spent it. That's it. So when I log into my bank account, I know it's subtracted already. And so what they're actually doing, they're buying ETFs and they're charging you a
Yeah.
fee.
They're buying ETFs and what fee are they charging? Like
They're
2%?
they're charging it's like 0.25%. It's not a lot because a financial advisor will charge you 1.5%. That's like the average.
And this
So
is point two, like not even a percent.
0.25%. So it's stupid cheap. It's like dumb cheap. So if you're lazy, you're like, Edgar, man, you're giving me way too much information. I ain't got time for this. It's actually a really fantastic option. It's got a really like super dope UI. It's like fail proof, essentially.
Wow. Yeah.
You can't mess it up.
But no, you can't, especially
It's
long
actually,
run.
a lot of people on the internet, like, you go on Reddit forums and a lot of people in the like in the kind of like that have the like the know-how, they hate it because it's a fee. People hate fees, like I do too. I hate fees. Like I'm not trying to pay someone
Fees
0.25%. This is annually, right? This is every year,
annually. Yeah.
right?
Okay.
So if you had accumulated $1 million, right? Let's do the math on
Yeah.
that.
What's point two or point two, whatever?
Point oh oh two. It's 0.25. That's $2,500 if I had $1 million
Yeah, a
portfolio.
million.
Not much, right? I got $1 million, but that's for me. It's principle. I ain't trying to pay somebody money. If
Yeah,
I
no, but that's tax free when you take it out still, right?
if you open a Roth,
If you open the Roth,
yeah,
yeah.
and they have Roths. They have the option to do it.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're pulling out from a Roth, you're not paying taxes. I mean, I think that beats the 0.02%.
Yeah, it's smart. I mean, it's smart. Don't get me wrong, but I'd rather like I'd rather just invest in the S&P 500, which is a ETF, and
Mm-hmm.
because you can do that, you can just open any of these brokers and you can just invest in S&P 500. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's five. It's actually a little bit more than 500. It's like 520
Mm-hmm.
of the biggest U.S. companies weighted by market cap, meaning like Apple has the biggest market cap, so that's the number one investment in that portfolio. So if you invest in the S&P 500, uh, you know, if one company tanked, like whatever, you got 499 left. Like I'm diversified, right?
And do you
I'm
think when do the robo advisors when they choose, are they essentially picking the S&P 500, give or
yeah,
take some companies? Like,
different
do you,
ones, different ETFs. Yeah,
they're
you can
basically the S&P, but maybe some no, some yeah, and then other ones yes.
exactly. So if you look at if you go on their website, they have their methodology, and they tell you exactly what ETFs they're investing in. So you can literally open an account with Robinhood if you wanted to.
Oh, because they
Those
tell you you can open Robinhood and just take the exact ones.
exactly can, but
But
a
probably
lot
very
of
few people do because
but if you're not right, if you don't even if nothing of what I made sense today or what you're like what we're saying made absolutely no sense, you're I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to download a Robinhood. I don't want to
yeah.
download Vanguard and all this other stuff. I just want to put my money and just take care of it. Like fine, you know that's an option there. Uh, and so basically what they're doing is based off of your profile, like more aggressive, they're going to go with more aggressive ETFs.
More aggressive eat.
They're going to
Yeah.
go with growth ETFs versus if you want to be more conservative, they're going probably super heavy in the S&P, mixed in with probably some bonds. So when the market is low, you're not hit as hard because some of your portfolio is made up of bonds as well, and bonds pretty much don't do anything. Um,
Even when the economy goes
in
down and
value. They'll give you your dividend. So they'll every year, annually or quarterly, they'll pay you out a consistent amount, but the price doesn't fluctuate. It's flat
mm,
pretty much indefinitely.
but bonds are good for getting that consistent
A consistent
annual
dividend, right? If you
dividend.
had $1 million, or say you had $5 million, and you're like, whatever, I'm gonna put $1 million in bonds just so that I can get my 5% or whatever. And
Yeah.
and then you have
Then
your
you'd be getting 5,000 once a year.
you can live off of the bonds, and then you can do some like more just like interesting stuff with the 4 million or whatever the heck you want. It depends, right? It's right now at your age, bonds are just kind of I see them as pointless, but
Mhm.
it is what it is. Um, then you can go with a target retirement portfolio. That one's also hands off. Uh, this robo advisor thing, the Betterment and the Wealthfront, they have really nice UIs, user interface. Vanguard, their interface sucks. Their app
Really?
sucks.
Does it look Stone Age in there?
It's horrible. Their app, they're revamping it, but their app is like it's a joke. It sucks. Um, their website, it's no, it doesn't look good. But I actually use Vanguard, so you have to kind of like I don't know
Yeah,
when
my friend uses that too, but Betterment and Wealthfront that does it's the same thing though.
same thing, but it looks pretty, right? You log in and you see your charts, and you're like, this is like, it feels good, right? It feels good to like, you stash money in there, and then
Yeah.
you look at it a year later, and then you open it, and you're like, nice. Like,
That's so funny that you and my other friend who are investors don't use Vanguard, but you say it or that you guys both use Vanguard, but this other one looks nicer. Why do you guys use Vanguard then?
I use Vanguard. Uh, well, when I first started, these robo advisors didn't exist, right?
Mm.
And then I don't like these extra fees. I'd rather do the research. I'd rather learn. That's just me. You know, I'll put the time in and learn it.
What, there's a little extra fees with the Betterment?
Yeah, because the ETF, so an ETF is charging you a fee.
Uh,
So if you're invested in a Vanguard ETF, Vanguard is charging a fee. because an ETF is basically, if I'm in the S&P 500, the Vanguard ETF for that is BOOO. That's the ticker symbol.
Yeah.
If I'm invested in that, they're taking my money. If you're invested in that, they're taking your money. If, the rest of the world, like, all of like whoever, your brother, your sister, whatever, we're all invested in BOO. They're pulling our money together, and
Mm-hmm.
they're buying 500 US companies, the top 500 companies, and
Yeah.
they're making the ratios for us based off of which one's biggest. So, if the 500th company to make into the S&P 500 is very little of how much of our money is actually invested in that like company
Yeah.
versus Apple, a significant amount is invested in that. But then they charge you a fee for managing that essentially. They do it passively, meaning like they just go by based off of market cap as it fluctuates.
Mm-hmm.
They have formulas and they change it. Some ETFs are active, so someone actively manages it. Someone actually buying and selling. They charge a higher fee.
Yeah. Wow.
Kathy Wood. I'm not sure if you know her. She's pretty popular about that. She has, her like she has ETFs that are all ARK, ARK, and then another letter. So it'll be like ARKK, ARKG. Um, she actively manages it. She has a team. And so instead of paying for a Vanguard, you're paying like 0.08%.
Mm.
For something like Kathy Wood, you're paying like 1%. And so if you're using Wealthfront and Betterment, they're investing in ETFs. Vanguard is charging me 0.08%, and then Betterment is charging me 0.25%. So
I
now,
see.
so now my fee is point 0.3 something. Like
I see. So that's why you go with Vanguard.
I go with Vanguard. Uh,
Yeah.
and yeah, at the time, none of this stuff existed.
Uh-huh. Well, hopefully the app on Vanguard looks better
It's
soon.
getting better. It's pretty trash. Uh,
Yeah.
but Vanguard, they also have a hands-off feature. It's called a target retirement account.
Uh-huh.
So that's this one right here. So when you go on the Vanguard website, it's going to tell you, do you want to open a Roth IRA or do you want to open a traditional IRA? So you select one of the two. Probably going to go with the Roth IRA. You're going to put your information. You're going to ask a lot of questions. Name, address, demographics, all of that sort of stuff. Your income, your knowledge of investing, how comfortable you are investing. If sometimes they ask questions like, if the stock market were to like tank tomorrow or go down 3%, what would you do? Would you invest more? Would you sell or would you hold? Just kind of weird questions.
Okay.
Um, and what your income is, your bank account, uh, your routing number, and your account number, because you got to feed the account.
Mm.
They'll look at it. It's going to take like 3 days to get verified, and then you make your deposit, and then that's what it is. The target portfolio is you select a year of when you're going to retire, and they have a chart like it's 2050,
Yeah. Okay.
whatever. You select a year, and then they'll invest in your portfolio accordingly. And it's kind of like the Betterment and Wealthfront. You don't have to do anything. So they'll have the allocations here. Um, you know, uh, they'll choose like if you're 25, they'll probably be like 90% stocks and then 10% bonds. And then as you get older, that ratio starts changing.
Okay.
Because the older you get, it is safer to be in bonds. As an example, um, let me
Oh yeah, if you were gonna retire,
if I were to sell it, so do you still see my screen?
yeah.
Google.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so BOO, that's the S&P 500, right? Now, if I was 60 years old and I had a bunch of money in the stock market in February 2020, right? And then, a week later, like boom, I lost 30% of my portfolio, right?
Huh.
So imagine that, right? If you had $100,000 in your portfolio.
And you're like right about to retire, like you're about to have a
Yeah.
retirement party and do the whole thing.
And then boom, you're like, shoot, I just lost 30% of my portfolio. That's very rare, right?
Yeah, it takes the pandemic.
But that doesn't happen to a bond. So it doesn't fluctuate like that.
So that's why maybe you'd want to get more bonds as you get older to take
yeah.
off the risk.
And then let the stock market recuperate, whatever it is. Us that we're younger, right? We got 100% in S&P 500. It went down 30%, whatever. This is February 2020, right? Imagine you started your portfolio in February. You put $1,000 into the market in February of 2020. Then in March, you lost 30% of that. So you lost $300. And you're like, damn it, I should have never listened to Edgar. What was I thinking? But say you didn't react, never did anything, you held on to it, then
look at all that.
You're up 30% from February 2020. So instead of being down 300, you're now up 300 from that point there. Imagine taking it further, you put another 1,000 right here, and you go to here, 92%. So from that crash, you would almost have doubled your money. So if you put 50K, like who would have known, right? You can't predict, but you would have put 50K on March 20th, 2020 in just the S&P 500, you'd be sitting at like pretty much 100K right now. So that's why that's like bonds and all of that. But
I see. Okay, that's a good explanation about bonds.
Right. Like if I was looking at a bond ETF, we can look at what happened there. So March, it went down 6.5 or 6.5.
6.5, but that's not 30. That's compared to that 30. Yeah. That's barely.
But you can see in a 5-year period, it's done 2%.
Yeah, that's very
nothing. Over here in a 5-year period, 100%.
I see.
Right. So that's your risk. And you can look at that at like, people make a ton of money off of Tesla, for example. And you can see over a 5-year period, like say you were invested in Tesla in July 2016 and you were invested for, let's say 3 years. You didn't do anything for 3 years.
Nothing.
Right. But say you kept on holding it, right? 1,000%, like that's
whoa,
49%, right? It's like, or if you started here and then you went like down there, like you never know. Like losing 50%, like is ridiculous. So for me, I'd rather I do like to select some stocks, but it's ones that I'm like, I've researched them. I researched them a ton. Mm-hmm. I listen to their quarterly reports. I look at their balance sheet. I see their management team. And so through the ups and the downs, like I'm in it. Mm-hmm. If it's like a one that I'm really confident with, and if it's going down, then I'm gonna put more money in it, knowing that I'm risking potentially like losing it all. Right. So you might be thinking, why not just put 100% in Google, or why not just put 100% in Amazon, or like these like huge companies, or Uber, right? You're like, Uber, it's gonna take over the world. Well, Uber's not profitable. It's not making any money. Right? Uber in 5 years can be non-existent, or it could be the next top company. Same thing could happen to Google. They took a risk and they started giving people 1 gigabytes of mail. People thought it was crazy. They could have bankrupt, but they ended up on top. That's just right. Who could have known? But if you're in the S&P 500, you're in all of these companies, so you don't got to worry about it. Some companies like GE, I'm pretty sure you're pretty familiar with GE. They make everything in your house. Mm-hmm. Look at that.
Down
60% in the last 5 years. Down.
They're not profitable. That's what that's saying. They're not profitable.
Well, the thing is the stock market price and what the company is valued at isn't correlated. So the stock price of a company, essentially in the most simple terms, is supply and demand. I'll give you another example, GameStop, GME, right? When it was trading at whatever it was trading, like $100 or whatever.
Oh yeah, up to 120 at one point.
Yeah, it's not because it's that value, it's because of supply and demand.
Oh, 180 right now.
So yeah, 180 right now. So look at this, right?
Oh my God.
And it just shot up. These people made it $2,000, right? It's not because suddenly this company is worth 2,000% more. It's not. But they convinced a bunch of people on the internet to invest in it. Like they call it meme investing or like momentum investing. It's not worth this money. It's not. Uh, and your only hope is that like I guess someone else will pay for it. Right? There's no value to it. Right? So some of these other companies like Apple. Um, it's worth 2.5 trillion. It's not a 2.5 trillion company, but that's what people are willing to pay to have ownership of this company. Maybe sometime in the future, it will manifest, right? And so the likelihood of Apple manifesting into that is very likely. But
Do you know what sets the price? Like, so like
it's all supply and demand. It's all
Tesla, but like the market cap is higher in,
it goes higher as so the market cap is,
but it's higher in Apple, but then Tesla's stock price is way higher.
okay. So that's a really good question. So
I know that's kind of weird, right?
so the stock price is irrelevant. Is not relevant. So let me see if I can put it.
I know it's so like hard. It's kind of hard
It's hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
So you need to know how many shares there are. So okay, how many outstanding shares does Apple have? So they have 16.69 billion shares outstanding. So you got to take that 16.69 billion
Oh my God.
and multiply it by 148.99. That's how you get your market cap here. And then so what was it? I said 16. Let me write that down.
I wonder if I could do it on my phone.
Yeah, how many zeros that is?
16. I'm just gonna say 16.69 billion times what?
Times 149.
149 is 2,486,000,000,000.
Yeah. So that's at 2 point right here. That's this number here.
Yeah, there you go.
So if I look at Tesla, so how many outstanding shares does Tesla have? It's only 963 million. So there's less outstanding shares. So shares outstanding is like if you were to take a circle and you slice it up into 963 slices, right?
Yeah.
That's how many shares are available. So if you have one share, you have one share out of 963 million.
Oh, you have one share out of that.
Yeah. So
it's going to be a bigger piece of a cake.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So don't look at the stock price because a company they can say, okay, and Tesla did this. Tesla's stock price was like $1,000. So they did a stock split. So for every share that you had, they now gave you 5. So instead of having one share with like $1,000, you now have 5 shares worth $200.
Oh, they could
So,
do that.
so yeah, they can do
Stock
that. So
splitting.
now that pie has 5 times as many slices or 5 times as many shares. So if you had one stock, like one stock of Apple, right? That's how many slices there are. And if you accumulate more, then the more that company succeeds, the more you like, the more you're succeeding because you have more of it. But one out of 16.69 billion, right? You don't own much.
You don't own much there. Okay.
So
Okay.
if
Thanks
you,
for clarifying that
so
up.
yeah, it's like stock price is irrelevant because you might look at Amazon, for example, and you're like, shoot, 3,700. I can't afford that stock.
Yeah. What?
It's ridiculous, but the market cap is 1.87 trillion. So Apple is
T.
more than
Trillion.
a trillion. So Apple
Uh-huh.
is 2.4,
Oh, Apple is 2 point. Yeah, that's right.
right? So Amazon they haven't done a split. Apple has done several splits, right? So when you look at the history, it takes into account splits. So
When
5 years,
does where does it say split or how do you?
you have to look at the history somewhere else.
Oh,
Like
oh,
5 years ago, Apple wasn't trading at $26. It was trading at something else. But after splits, it does the math for you.
oh! It does the math on the history for
Yeah,
you.
on the history. So
Okay.
that's like number one is don't look at the share. That's why you don't look at the share price because it's nothing coordinated with it.
Wow. You could really almost start to think that you're seeing a pattern, and you're like, oh, I'm seeing a pattern.
Yeah,
Like I can do this, but it's all just not.
and you can't do that. So I mean, we gotta. That's why we gotta, go into each one of these. Like, there's a PE ratio right here. There's a market cap right here. This is the 52-week spread. This is at what it opened at today. This is a dividend. So every quarter or every year, Apple's paying you 0.59% at this price. So if the price was lower, you're getting a higher yield percentage.
Mm.
So as the price drops, the dividend doesn't. So if you get it at a cheaper price, you're getting an annual yield at a higher price.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, okay, this was the 52-week spread right here. So in a 1 year, it moved from 89 to 150 from its lowest to highest. Uh, and so all of these numbers, they mean something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just charts and it's not just share price. That's what's happening like right now or like in short term,
Yeah.
but in a long term, right? You see this like game, right? You see this, eventually it's gonna go back over here
Yeah.
because the company isn't doing anything different or innovative, or they're not making the revenue to justify that stock price.
Yeah. They're not. Yeah.
So like Tesla, Tesla at this point here, it hit like at some point it jumped up crazy high, and they actually almost went bankrupt, and it went like it sank down, and then it's gone super high again, and that's because people are trying to get ahead of the game. So Tesla's 635 billion market cap. At one point, it was 800 billion market cap,
Holy.
and it's a relatively new company.
Mm.
Uh, and so people are kind of like thinking because they have self-driving cars, because they have solar roofs, because they're the like leading market in the vehicle
Yeah.
space. It's all on what you want to pay for the company. Um, Tesla, like electric vehicles are only like 2% of the vehicles that are out uh, in general.
Yeah.
Like that's all electric. That's not Tesla. So how much of that 2% is Tesla? And so it's really small in the grand scheme of things. If you look at Toyota, they're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, car manufacturers in the world. they have a market cap of 300 billion, less than 300. So people are saying Tesla's worth twice as much as Toyota. That's what people are saying. In the
Oh,
future, you're not paying for what the value is now. It's forward thinking, so it's the future. So
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't predict these things. So
No, you can, but sometimes you feel like you can.
sometimes you feel like you can. And so this is look Toyota's revenue right here. Um, this is in Japanese yen, so it's hard to translate it. Let me see. Let's see Ford. I think they made them. Let's say GM. They made 32 billion last quarter. Tesla made Tesla made 10 billion last quarter.
Last quarter, yeah.
Last quarter, they're worth 633 billion. They made 10 billion last quarter. GM made 32 billion last quarter. They're worth 80 billion. It's all supply and demand. So, but you got to look at the charts. Year over year, that's what this Y over Y is. They
Uh-huh.
made less money year over year, so that's not good. Um, versus Tesla year over year, they're up 10%. So you want to go for that company that's increasing their revenue
Yeah.
year over year.
Year over year.
Yeah, that's not like the only factors, but um,
No, but that's a good place to start.
yeah.
Start learning.
So if you want to stock select, it's honestly it's it's kind of um, complicated. Um, you got to do your research. You got to study these. You got to listen to the quarterly reports they give every quarter. You got to
Mm-hmm.
look at their balance sheet. You got to not think how everyone else is thinking sometimes.
Yeah.
Because like Tesla, right? If you were one of the first ones who had the foresight, fantastic. You're in great shape. If you invested in Tesla when it was less than $100 billion market cap,
Yeah.
and right now if it's 600 billion, you've six times your money. You're up 600%. Like you're golden.
Yeah. Truth.
But if you're doing it while it's a $600 billion market cap,
That's yeah.
like in order for you to double your money, it's got to be worth 1.2 trillion. In order for you to make six times your money, it's got
So
to.
the market cap is really important to notice.
It's one important factor.
It's one big. So that. So if what you're saying is, yeah, how do I calculate how much I can get out of my investment? And if you invest $100 and the market cap doubles from when you invested 100, you're gonna double your 100.
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna give you one example of one company that I invested in, Celsius. I invested in this company
Yeah.
when uh when it was less than a when it was less than a 1 billion market cap. So it was worth like
Less than 1 billion. Oh, and now it's basically five.
5 billion. So it was worth 500 million. It was worth $10 a share, more or less, when I bought into this company.
Whoa. Yeah.
And then so a smaller company like this, like Celsius, right? I've already like gone from a $500 million market cap to a $5 billion market cap. So I already made a ton of money off of this company. And so they're an energy drink. That's what they
Uh,
are.
okay. But
So
going from 1 billion to five is much more likely than maybe Tesla going from
exactly,
600 to 2 trillion. I mean, right?
exactly. It's not to say that Tesla won't do it.
No, yeah, because they might, but
They would, but they might because they grew so rapidly in share price. There's gonna be some stagnant, like it might just chill there for a moment, unless some. Okay, so where's the tipping point? Unless something pivotal happens, where it's like, oh my God, Tesla is the clear, like if they blow everything out of the water, EVs become like 25% of the market share, lawmakers really start saying, okay, we can't have gas vehicles, which they're starting to do, right? And people are like, oh crap, I got to start, getting into like Tesla, things like that.
Yeah.
Tesla, they started announcing they're like, you can use their charger with any car. They're going to increase their revenues that way.
Mm.
If they want to use their self-driving technology and other automakers, if Ford is like Ford, GM, Honda, they're all like, we don't know what we're doing. Like Tesla, help us out. All right, we'll do it, but we got to get some of your money that you make off of your vehicles, or we'll do it for a monthly fee. So
I see.
you never know. Um, you never know, and that's where people who justify that price see this company much bigger than just an automaker.
That's a good explanation.
But yeah, there's a lot of different factors.
Well, I definitely see why ETFs are like so much more safe, because you could see how those lines go up and down, but ETFs is like you have so much safety nettings.
Yeah, let me show you. So BOO Holdings. So I can go to Vanguard's website, and then I can look at the portfolio. So this is S&P 500.
Is
And
this your account, or this is just the Vanguard
oh, this is just
website?
Vanguard in general. So this is what BOO holds. And by Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Berkshire, which is Warren Buffett company, Tesla, Nvidia, uh, JP Morgan Chase, Johnson and Johnson. These are all big, like top dogs in all of their like.
Yeah, wow. So these are the highest market caps
Yeah. And so
in
these
the.
these 10 holdings equal 28.5% of the portfolio.
Wow.
So
Holy wow.
if like in order for you to lose 28.5%, you have to all of these have to tank. Like that's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So um,
Wow.
and you can go into here and it's going to tell me every holding, every single holding. It should click. I should be able to click on this. I don't know why it's not clicking, but you click on it and it's going to give me all 500 and something.
Oh, all 500 something companies.
Or you can go for a more growth eccentric ETF. That's VUG. Um, it's going to have a different makeup there. So Vanguard's growth ETF, you'll see even Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, it's still the same companies more or less. But
But yeah, Visa's in there and PayPal.
PayPal's in there, Home Depot's in there.
Wait, so
But
what's this? Why is this different?
this is a growth. So they weight it by growth.
Oh, so this is the highest growth. Okay.
So the market, yeah, the higher like growing companies, and they do different like you can do a health like a EHT. This is the health sector. So if you're particularly like, you think the health sector is going to be one that's going to be dominant in the next 5 years, then
Yeah.
maybe you might want to put a little bit more into this one here, and you'll see the holdings there, Johnson and Johnson. These are health oriented companies.
Okay. Okay. I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So and maybe
So
you're like,
what industry? What
or
what are
yeah,
they called? Sectors, or are
yeah.
they called
So
sectors?
yeah, you can break up your portfolio into like, okay, I want to go 10% into health. I want to go 10% into technology. You got to find an ETF. So you can tailor your portfolio with ETFs too, based off of sectors.
Mm-hmm.
Vanguard are going to be safe ETFs, but you can go with ETFs from other companies that are a little bit more risky, like Kathy Wood. She does ARC. And last year she was very successful, right? Look at this. It's going up 300% there.
Wow.
This year, not so much. So that's the risk in like the growing companies. As these companies prices keep going down, she's buying more and more and more. So if you'd rather someone like Kathy Wood do the work for you because you're freaking out, and you
Mm-hmm.
can invest in one of those.
Wait, I have a question. Can companies invest in their own stock to make it look like that they're?
Yeah,
Is that illegal?
kind of. Well, like they call it buybacks. So when they do their quarterly reports, like Apple will say, okay, we're doing buybacks. Uh, so when they buy their own stock back, they sometimes they kind of they put it away, they put it somewhere else. It's not available to the public anymore. So if you think again, always thinking of it as a pie, right?
Yeah.
Apple is buying that back. Okay, now I'm getting rid of it. Now there's less slices essentially, but
Mm-hmm.
the same market cap. So your pie, your slice then becomes in theory more valuable because there's less of it. And,
Yeah, I see.
and so sometimes companies do that because if a company does that in theory, it's okay. They see value in it because it's there's a good investment in it. They have like I have the money to buy it. It's at a cheap price. Let me just buy it, and
Yeah.
it's a good price. Sometimes some companies they get themselves in some like sticky situations or they're in a decline. So then they're like, oh, we're gonna do a stock buyback, but it's all like a fluke.
Mm.
And so that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good sign. A company might be doing that to kind of artificially inflate the price. But most people see through it, right? You see all of this like revenues going down, you're not being as successful, and you're doing the buybacks. Yeah, that's typically a good sign, but we know why you're doing it. You're not fully
Yeah, totally.
so, but you'll read the headlines, right? So, because what they want to do is they want to end up on the headlines. X company does buybacks. If you don't really fully dive into it, you might get tricked. You might think, oh shoot, they're doing buybacks. They see value, I'm getting in.
Yeah.
And usually you'll see the price going down, 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 down. They'll do the buyback. You're like, they see value in it. It's gone down significantly. How much further could it possibly go down? I'm getting in and I'm gonna
Mm.
flip it. But you never know. Like that's the trading mentality. That's the like,
Yeah.
you get lost in that.
Dude,
Yeah,
that's so good. That I learned a lot
it's a
so
lot,
far.
dude. So I think for you, what you really should do is you open up a Roth. If you want to do it with Vanguard or I gotta show you M1. M1 is pretty cool. Uh,
Yeah, well, yeah, show me that.
it's an app. They don't charge any fees or anything, but I really like them. Um, they actually let me stop sharing. Let me go into my account, but let me make sure I'm not sharing
Yeah. Oh yeah. Nice.
anything I shouldn't be sharing.
Yeah.
All right, cool. This should be good. Yeah. All right, you see that?
I don't see anything yet. Oh yeah.
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 So with M1, um, it's a little tricky at first, um, but you create pies, right? So you create your own like you can put ETFs, you can put stocks, you can put whatever it is that you want in there. Um, like for example, here's an ETF pie I created, um, and
Whoa.
I did this with someone like with a friend, and they're like, oh, they're really interested in Google, right? This ETF has a high holding in Google here. It's communications,
Uh huh.
and so um, you know I put 20% in there. So I allocated different ETFs. Um, this consumer one has a good chunk in Amazon. Um, So these are like consumer goods,
Okay.
communication. These are your wireless technology, cell phones, social media, Google, things like that. Here's a growth one. They wanted to go a little bit growth. Uh, they wanted to go tech. So this is VGT. This is the technology ETF.
Yeah.
Vanguard is kind of like they're doing the work. They're looking at these are the best and of like tech companies here. These are the best financial companies here. They're banks.
Mm,
So their number one holding is probably JP Morgan.
yeah.
Okay. Healthcare, right? We saw that was J&J. This one B&Q, that's real estate. So they want to be in those sectors, and but they don't want to do the homework of like what is the best real estate stock
Mm,
or like own, right? So you can set up your pie like that, or you can set up your pie to just be VOO S&P 500, 100%.
yeah.
Every time I put money, just put it in VOO, put it in
Uh-huh.
VOO, right? And then it's pretty cool where you can look at the history, like hypothetically, if you had like done it a week ago, a month ago, if you put $100 in there, um, you know what your like outcome would be. So
Ah,
you know,
wow.
a year ago, it'd be up 41.74.
Whoa, this is cool.
Uh, so you know, it's all hypothetical.
Yeah.
You know, I'd be up 141, right? If I did it 3 years ago, 196. You know, 5 years ago, uh, 250 out of my 100 here.
Mm,
So you can play around with it and do whatever. Um,
my pies.
yeah, so you can create a pie. You know, this like pie right here. You know, someone was like
So
really
your pie is a portfolio
in
or
portfolio. So this particular pie, like the number one holding would be Google. So 15%. Like if I put in $100, $15 is going into Google. $15 is going into Amazon, 15 into Apple, etc. And then down at the bottom, $3 is going into
ah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. So you can play around with it.
Did
And
you choose those individually?
these ones, yeah.
Or that or is that an ETF that automatically had all those?
This is you're kind of creating an ETF.
You're basically creating an
Yeah,
ETF,
you're
right?
creating one, but you're creating your own ETF.
Ah, and you can have up to as many companies as you want.
Yeah, whatever you want. You can also create sectors and put your own pies in there. So you're just kind of like,
What? This is the most legit thing right here?
yeah, you can put like say you wanted to do like I want to go 5% on EV stocks, electric vehicle stocks.
Yeah.
And then in there you want to put, okay, Tesla, I want 60% of my EV to be Tesla.
Yeah.
I want 30% to be the Toyota. And then I want 5% to be Ford because who knows what if the underdog just comes out of nowhere
Oh yeah. Love that.
and 5%, let's say GM, who knows, whatever. You know, now you've diversified your EV sector. You're still Tesla heavy because you believe in Tesla heavy. Um, but you're still giving these other dudes a chance.
Yeah.
And it'll do it automatically. Like every time you put money in it, it's gonna allocate it based on
Whatever percent you
that.
choose. Wow.
Exactly.
Let's go.
So if you've done a lot of research and you feel comfortable with these companies, sometimes it might buy them when they're high, sometimes it buys them when they're low, but over a long period of time,
Mhm.
you know, see this company, which was stocks over the 5 year window, 336%. Because I've selected 14 different company stocks
Yeah.
um, versus this one, which was an ETF, a lot less gains,
Yeah.
right? Over the 5 year period, 155,000, I mean 155%. Uh, and then if I created a pie, I can create a pie of just VOO if I wanted to put a VOO, add to the basket, 100%.
Oh, so you don't have any in there, money in there.
Yeah, so this is just going to be, well, this is just theoretically. So
Oh, this is all
VOO,
there.
so S&P 500 over a 5 year. period would make 130%. So that portfolio versus my stock selecting, I'm doing a lot better,
Mm,
right? But this is hypothetical. Like I can't
this is all, yeah.
get it. But if you look at the charts, sometimes it's going to be higher, sometimes it's going to be lower. But you'd like to see that trend moving up.
And at any time you could just click add to portfolio and then this would be added to your actual.
Yeah, you can add. Oh shoot, it's gonna try to add it to my actual thing. So I can edit this portfolio. Say I'm feeling. Say you want to start off with the S&P 500. All right, I'm feeling pretty comfortable. Let me add Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm still gonna put in 80% of my money into the S&P 500, and I'm gonna put 20 into Amazon, just to give me a little more of a. If anytime you invest in singular stocks, your potential to make gains goes up significantly higher, but your risk also goes up significantly.
Significantly higher too, yeah.
So I'm still 80% S&P 500. Boom. Okay. Now I look over that 5 year. Before it was 130%. Now 186%.
Mm,
Just by going heavy in Amazon a little.
uh-huh.
So I mean I think this platform is really cool. It's got a
I
smart.
like this a
It's
lot.
got
Yeah.
an app. Uh, it's a little tricky at first, but if you wanted to start off with just the S&P 500, right, you can do that. You just go 100%, and then as you feel more confident and more comfortable, uh,
Yeah.
you can add to it.
Uh-huh.
And so, say you wanted to take a really really risky bet, like the Celsius that I jumped in,
Yeah.
the Celsius holding. Um, Let me add. You can do that. You find a company. It's a small company, small market cap, and so the potential is huge.
Huge.
Um, you know, but I don't want to lose more than 5% of my portfolio. So with this risky company here, I know that it can all
Go away.
go away. it can go horribly wrong. Um, so the nice thing is, you know, when I put in money, only 5% of my money is going into this high risk. 95% of my money is still
Yeah.
going to this really safe ETF.
Mm-hmm.
And then just by doing that, my 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 percentage went to 368% instead of 130%, because I decided to put only 5% of my portfolio into
Yeah.
high risk. And if I went even higher, you know, it would be really crazy. But you wouldn't want to do that. You wouldn't want to put 50%.
Yeah, too risky.
It's gonna be something crazy.
Something not.
Yeah, 2,000.
Huh.
Like, that's ridiculous.
That's, yeah, so
That's
insane.
that's $100. If I put $100 5 years ago, I'd have 2,500, like whatever that is. Yeah, $2,600.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
No, this is good. What is this called? M1?
M1. I'll send you a I'll send you a link actually,
Yeah.
because we both get like $50 or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I could
Uh,
start that. Yeah.
but you do have to put money in it. This is actually my account here. So I started this because I've been trying to get my siblings to invest. So I started this October of last year, 2020. I started
Yeah.
I started with $100, right? And then
Okay.
I've put in $100 every fifth of the month. Uh,
Uh,
and so it's been 10 months. So if I only put it in the savings account, I should only have $1,000, right? Because I put in $100. But
Yeah, but you've already made $200
yeah,
almost.
and my gains right here is 30%.
Huh.
So imagine if I was doing not $100, but imagine I was doing $1,000 a month if I can afford that.
That's so.
I'd have 10,000 and then I'd have 30% of 10,000 in there. And then you get dividends. So this is a small portfolio, but I got over that time period, I got $6.53 in dividends. So that's actual cash.
Yeah.
And then that gets put right here in cash.
Right back.
So it'll auto invest it. So when it hits
Oh, good. Yeah.
$25, when I accumulate $25 off my dividends, it'll automatically buy it. So this same portfolio, I did it for an IRA right here. So I had a different job, and I rolled over my IRA into my M1. Um, so this was November of last year, literally a month
Nice.
later.
Yeah.
This is how much I put in, and this is how much it's worth right now.
Let's go.
I didn't do anything.
You
I
do anything.
didn't do anything at all. Just let it sit. Add money to it, and so I'm just
My
gonna let it sit
gosh.
there for more years to come. My
Yeah.
dividend is right here. So I got $74 in cash.
Oh my Lanta.
So I'm like $3 away from it auto investing.
Whoop.
So it's gonna go more and more. Um,
That's so sick.
so that's the power of investing right there.
It's straight up inspiring.
Yeah, 1,500 almost.
1,500.
I didn't do anything. This was literally in my old job in my 403B because I work for a nonprofit. I was literally sitting in this 599 to 6,000 range, like it wasn't moving, and then I put it in this M1, and it like shot up significantly. But I'm like, I have stocks in here, and I don't have anything crazy, right? Um, but even Target is my biggest winner. Like, what the heck?
Wow.
63%. I mean, 60%.
Insane.
Sorry.
Hey, their clothes have been getting better.
Yeah, but this is nothing crazy in my portfolio. Just a bunch of tech stocks. Um, I put Chase in there. I put Chase in there when it was like at its bottom because interest rates were like stupid low. So I was like, everyone's jumping out of Chase out of bank stock, and I'm like, dude, it's gonna return. Like,
Yeah, you're like, I'll buy it right now.
yeah, put money in there.
Your money's making you money.
Yeah, the dividends. Yeah, most of these companies they pay dividends. So I've made 75, and it's just every year I'm gonna make another $100. It's gonna go back into my account. And it's just gonna keep going higher.
Mm-hmm.
And then the companies they raise their dividends too
Oh, they raise them over time.
over time.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Over time, yeah. So like,
Okay, so M1.
yeah, I'll send you the link, dude.
Send me a link and then I can, yeah,
Like this
get us both a
this
little
is
bit.
Coca-Cola, for example. Um, in September, they're gonna pay 42 cents for every share that you hold. So that's about 2%. But if you bought it in 2013, they paid you 28 cents then. And so this stock that you bought here that was in that time was giving you 28 cents, you're now getting 42 cents for it.
Whoa.
For that same share, if you held it throughout
That's
the whole
if
period,
you held it the whole time, yeah.
you don't got to do anything. Let me show you. I think I showed you. Are you seeing
Yeah, I can see this.
the Apple thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this one was in November of 2018. I bought the 16 shares. The price changed because it was the stock split. Essentially, this is how much I paid
Uh-huh.
on this day. And this is how much it's worth today. So I've gained 1,620.
Wow.
So I'm more than doubled my money. That's like triple right there.
That's amazing. And like that's
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah. And then um, on this day right here in May, because I had 16 shares, They paid me $3.08, which doesn't seem like much, but it got reinvested. Um, so this $3.08 is now worth $9.56.
Let's go.
So even my dividends
That's
are like increasing in value too, right? So and then all of these are all dividends, right? That's all just adding up. It's all accumulating right here. So
mm,
this is how much my dividends were worth, and this is how much they're worth now. Right? And then I
wow.
bought again this year 8 shares. This one was a heavy buy, $1,000. So this was just 7 months ago. I'm up 152. But the bigger powerful thing in that is now you can see my dividends here. The difference between May 13th, 2021 and May 16th, 2019 is it's $5.80 of dividends here versus $3.08 of dividends here.
Mm,
And if you add all of these fractional dividends,
yeah.
26.4 shares of Apple. I've only paid for 26, so I have almost a half a share of Apple in dividends. It's just because I didn't sell it because I held on to it.
Yeah.
And so at some point I'm going to accumulate enough Apple stock that every quarter I'm going to get more
Every
whole shares of Apple, not just fractional ones. And you
it's
hold it, don't sell it. You just let it
that's
accumulate.
compounding, baby.
Exactly, compounding. Once you get a big enough portfolio, you just, especially 20 years from now, just let it ride. And you're good. And at a certain point, you don't have to reinvest that dividend. You could you could use it.
Uh-huh.
Right now, it makes sense to me to reinvest it. I'm young, but imagine if you had a big enough portfolio, if you had $1 million, you're not just going to be invested in Apple, but you're going to be invested in several ETFs, companies, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're going to make, it could be 1,000, you can make like 1,500 a month not doing anything. And by that time, when you're retired, you can let your portfolio sit there. You can, if you have a big enough portfolio, you can live off of dividends.
Yeah.
So you don't got to sell. You don't want to sell, right?
No.
You want to hold on to that. If you have children, or that's something that you think down the line, or someone you want to pass it down to, you can do that. If you can live off of your dividends, and then you have your portfolio to hand down to whatever it is, and that's how you
That's
create the generational wealth.
I see. Generational wealth.
Yeah, that's the end goal right there, man.
Hey, that's a freaking great way to end this, boy. Generational wealth building right here.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, this is good. We honestly should do this every Monday.
We
We should.
gotta break down like different, like what we gotta do short, like this is what the PE ratio, maybe like 5 minutes. This is the market
Yeah.
cap, maybe like 5 minutes.
Yeah, maybe we can run through that next week if you're
Yeah,
down.
for sure, dude.
We can go through those things when you look up a stock, that PE, the
Yeah,
52 week, all the value that you can get from those numbers and
yeah.
ratios.
Because it is, I'm gonna tell you, it is a little bit complicated. It's not simple. Um,
No.
in a market where every company is just like shooting through the roof or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
that's fine. But a lot of us weren't here. But in 1999, you could be doing the same thing, picking almost any stock, and everything was going through the roof.
Yeah.
And we had the crash, and
Definitely.
so only the top guys made it out. Like Yahoo, it's like non-existent now. But
Yeah.
in 1999, it was one of the most valuable companies in the world.
That's crazy. Yeah, I think this could be really valuable. We should keep recording and keep having these conversations and then just keep sending it because I'm learning and hopefully this helps you out in some sort of ways, creating content can't hurt. So you'll always have this video too. So
No, dude, it does help. I really just want to get people invested in it. Especially, I never had that avenue. I never had that resource or that tool.
mm-hmm.
So, you know, it's difficult to convince people sometimes to invest because I think there's just so many obstacles and so many barriers. But in 2021, we can download M1 Finance, or we can download Robinhood, or betterment or whatever. It's kind of like we got to leave those excuses behind and just start putting money in there. Then that's pretty much what it is, man.
Yeah, I think our future selves will thank us if, as no matter how
Yeah,
much we put in, even if it's $5 a week, our future self will be like, "Thank you so much, man."
ideally, man. Hopefully, this is a pivotal conversation in 30 years from now.
Yeah,
Holy shoot! Remember we're on Zoom.
exactly. When I'm 45 and I'm looking at my M1, like, I'm so glad I had that conversation with Edgar.
That's the goal.
We-
We'll look at some stocks together, even maybe like way down the line. We look at them together. Like,
True.
shoot, it's a good investment. Like, and maybe we both go in on it and we track it and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully someday I'll turn you onto a stock or teach you something. I'll get so good on my own and then be like, yo, let me show you this.
There's a million, like there's so many ways to make money. There's so many different sectors.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have my like I understand tech and kind of and there's like certain industries I understand. There's like food industry too, where I'm kind of like I really like those for
Yeah.
whatever reason, but there's so much out there.
So is the Nasdaq mostly tech,
Nasdaq is tech heavy.
and
Um,
then S&P is
S&P is
just
500
whatever,
biggest company. There's the
and
Dow
then
Jones.
there's one other Dow Jones is
Yeah.
super. What is that
The Dow
mostly?
is that's
It's like a mix of both or something.
it's like consumer goods. Or what is it? It's like let's see. Some people say it's like people look at it as kind of like
Consumer goods, daily goods.
is that what it says? I think like like 3M. That's like one of the biggest holdings. I've never really been interested
In the Dow.
in Dow Jones. What does Dow Jones? I don't know. Industrial average.
Straight up Dow Jones.
But yeah, like right now, you'd be thinking of the weirdest things. Like right now, Domino's Pizza, that's making me a lot of money.
Weird.
Like what Domino's Pizza? It's like, dude, I looked into
So random.
this company is good, man.
Oh, you got the eye.
No, I don't always make super fantastic investments. I've
Mm-hmm.
made a ton of mistakes. I've sold companies too soon. Like I had Shopify at like 100 and now it's worth like 1,200 or something. And I sold it like
Really? You're like, this is
it went from 100 to 200. So I made 100% and I was like, oh my God, yes, I got to freaking cash it in. We got to talk about taxes. There's so many things.
Oh yeah, taxes 20% for these.
Dude, it's insane, man.
So if you cash out on it, you have to pay 20% tax.
Maybe more. For me, it's like 40%.
What?
For me, it's 40% if I sell short term. So, I make a quick trade. So if I buy and then I sell a day later, a month later, anytime under 365 days, it's a short term gain. But if I hold longer, if I hold 1 year, then I get taxed 15%. If it's in my Roth IRA, I'm not going to get taxed. It's already
Okay, so you always want to hold for longer than a year then?
always want for me. So the market, you can make a lot of money in different ways. You can do options, you can do trades, you can do all of that. But for me, off of all of the research I've done, the most successful are long term. You get rewarded by being taxed less. On top of that, if I have some companies that happen to pay dividends, you saw what that compounding effect is going to do. So if I, it starts off small, but it gets bigger and bigger. So if I sold all of that Apple, I would have lost on the gains it made from this. Like, say I sold Apple last year, I'm missing out on all the gains it's made from January to July.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm missing out on the dividends they paid because I got rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason for me to sell it because this company is great. And it's going to continue to be great. Like most people, they have a freaking iPhone. Like that's what it is.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then when you have an iPhone, you have Apple Music, and you have iCloud accounts, and you have the freaking, what do you call those AirPods?
Yeah, AirPods,
Paying like $400.
Apple Watch.
Those things, like those headphones, it's costing like what, like $30 to produce, and they're selling it for like $400.
Yeah, maybe.
It's crazy. So I'm like, people are gonna buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be a part of the company, and so when people are buying it, they're paying me. So
Thanks for watching the whole podcast with Edgar and I talking about Roth IRAs investing and long-term investing to be specific. Please subscribe to the channel if you've made it this far. I really appreciate you, and you could appreciate me by clicking that subscribe button and showing me that people are out there looking and listening, and I want to provide value, and I get a little spark of energy every time I see a new subscribe button. Or new subscriber. So click that button and make my day. Thanks, y'all.